We were too busy laughing at Scott Dowdy's comment. Scott right there with his dang Salo Rodriguez is hitting the club. I didn't pay attention to the music until Scott mentioned that we may be getting a little loose, a little Joe's Volcano. Is that's what the music was? Joe's Volcano? Yeah, maybe not. A little Joe's Volcano. Okay, I went a little District 6 right there. I went a little, far west side San Antonio, Joe's Volcano, as we were looking at the Salo's music. So we'll work on some more inspirational Americana music as our entry the next time instead of us lighting it up with the dance music. Welcome. We are back. We are here. Last week, we had a debate at the Restoring Church. And I was on Tuesday night, so we streamed the debate instead of coming on and talking and just taking questions and seeing how things are going. And so we've been off for a little bit. And then before that, of course, was the snowstorm. So most of us were in the middle of no energy, no electricity, no water, no Ron, and all of us were freaked out, kind of wondering what was going on. So we couldn't go live to come to you a couple Tuesdays ago. So this is the first time we've been back up again. So we're just going to have some fun, talk a little bit about some of the issues of the day, let you know where we're at in the campaign, and what things look like, then that trajectory and how we're working. And then some issues of the day that have been popping up over the last few days. And then, of course, we had a couple of big ones today with Governor Abbott and his actions. But we also need to talk about how things are looking going forward into a May election cycle and kind of the silence. I was talking to somebody about this today. It's kind of a silence around this election, as I believe, right? The media is doing all they can to protect this machine. The cabal of City Hall, right? The machine itself, the same 30 people, 20 people that run this city and have run it for the last 30 or 40 years. They're always in charge downtown at City Hall. And all they do is sit around each other on a table and make up their rules. And their faces may change from time to time who's in charge. But that group of people, right, also controls this media narrative in San Antonio. So people who are running for election right now, and I think there's like 83 people running for election to city council, whether it's 13 or so in the mayors, all the way down to 10 different council seats. We are seeing a lot of folks running for office. But the media is obviously not going to give a lot of credibility or concern to those who are running for office. So it's very difficult for them to break through to beat an incumbent. And that's what you have to remember when you're running for city council. And anybody watching, if you're watching and you're running right now, or you have any ideas about doing it in the future, the odds of you beating an incumbent, right, an elected San Antonio city council member, are very, very slim, unless you have high name ID and a lot of cash. One or the other can at least get you involved in a race and an opportunity to make it competitive. But we got all 10 council seats and the mayor's up for grabs as well. But we don't really see that too much going into May right now. And here we are March 2nd, and we're about 50, 60 days, 55, 58 days away from the start of election day, but early vote starts right around April 19th. So we are a lot closer than anybody recognizes. Now, that's a good thing from a standpoint of allowing us to talk about the issues in a very compressed time period, and we know what's important, and we see us as a community beginning to change, right? Starting to come out of COVID to some extent, as we're beginning to, like today with the governor's move to unmask the state and open up the businesses to 100%, we're seeing this now movement towards what this post-COVID life's going to be like, and that will be some of the debate going forward too, is how do we, in this environment, right, how do we legislate a new San Antonio? How do we create and lead a new future for the community? And that's going to be litigated through these campaigns over the next 60 days. But it's also incumbent on the media, right, to give people the opportunity to have those conversations too, right? And look, you have to, at some point, you have to be running a credible campaign. I mean, we have 85 people running. Not everybody's going to get the microphone or an opportunity to say so. But if you're running a credible campaign and you're polling well, you're working hard, you're out there, you got a team, you got to work hard to get your message and thoughts out there. And it's going to take time. And if you're competing against an incumbent on the council, good luck to you. You better be out there working hard every day, knocking on doors, talking to people, trying to put votes in your little bank account, right? You got to have enough votes to win this. And some of these elections are settled by probably 500 votes. Some of these are super close. I was in a mayoral election 2 years ago. I was settled by about 1,327 citizens. Go the other way, I'm the mayor of San Antonio. If not, I'm sitting here trying to win the seat now on May 1st. So it's very close in all these council districts and all these things that are happening, right? And this is what I would tell you to be wise about. All the things that are happening in our city. We lived through a year of COVID, right? So we're at the COVID anniversary. I saw it in the news today, when North Star Mall, when Ron Nirenberg allowed back then coronavirus patients into San Antonio, when we were all, if you remember that, I mean, that was a year ago now. So we've lived through this for a year. And now we're in a position where we're thinking to ourselves, okay, vaccines are massively being ramped up. Today, Joe Biden said that we were going to have enough vaccines for every American by the end of May. So the federal government's ramping up vaccine counts. Masks and businesses are off. They're starting to open back up again at 100% capacities. What does that look like? So now the leadership moment doesn't become so much about COVID, right? It becomes about COVID and pandemic recovery, right? Like, how do we bring a city back from the brink where our elected officials pushed it to that brink, right? You can go around different states and cities in the country, and everybody has handled it a little bit different, but generally speaking, there is a pandemic playbook for the biggest cities in the country. Mask up, shut it down. Shut down business, mask up, ride it out, and that's the answer, right? Do as I say, not as I do mentalities out of City Hall. And we've seen that at the San Antonio City Council too, right? Stay home, don't celebrate Christmas, don't celebrate Halloween. Let's have a party at the Alamo Dome. Let's throw a boxing match and bring 12,000 people in here. Let's have the women's Final Four. But you citizen, you cannot, under any circumstances, gather with your family at Christmas. And here's a text message to tell you to stay away from your family. Don't show up, right? Avoid New Year's Eve parties. But I'm going to have the Alamo Bowl over here and invite 12,000 of my closest friends because it profits the city of San Antonio, right? So this pandemic playbook we've seen, it's also now going to have to change. So like, where's the energy, ideas, and recovery for the city? How are we going to build back immediately and help citizens now? And then you see things like what would happen with the snowstorm. We haven't had a chance to really unpack a lot of that, but the snowstorm has also uncovered the unpreparedness of our city leadership, both at CPS Energy, at SAWS, and most definitely in the mayor's office with Ron Nirenberg. So here's a couple of key facts. The pandemic playbook has always been there, right? So it doesn't take leaders at city council much thought to follow the pandemic playbook. We all got to mask up. Nelson Wolf and Ron on TV every day, scaring the heck out of everyone. Wear your masks. Shut down bars and restaurants, even though there's no data to prove it. And let's make sure we scare everybody to stay home and we just completely shut down and burn our economy, right? And the tried and true line was, no life is worth it. Shut it all down. Shut it all down. We'll worry about it later. And we'll fund people's opportunities to live with government incentives and stimulus checks and so forth, right? That was pandemic plan playbook from across the country for a year. And that bastard. But what we saw with the snowstorm response was there's not a playbook for how to be a crisis leader, how to lead in the moment when something happens that isn't in the norm or is not in your playbook, in your binder right in front of you. So what we saw was a city council, a CPS Energy, and a SAWS who were caught unaware. How they were caught unaware, who knows? We'll get to that in a second because I want to talk about that. But they were caught unaware. And when it became a leadership moment, it was very clear who stood up and who didn't, who failed and who didn't, who disappeared. So when the storm hit, who quit? Who did not show up in the community to make things happen and to say, I am here to lead? So what we've learned is from the snowstorm, so we've learned in the pandemic that coronavirus can invade and impact every piece of our city. Didn't matter. It was everywhere, every quadrant. Yes, there were some areas that are harder hit than others, some demographics harder hit than others, the death rates are harder hit in other areas. We understand that. We know that the stats are there. So we saw that with COVID. What we saw with the snowstorm was a little bit different. It was the ineptitude of City Hall and a lack of preparedness for a crisis situation that literally affected far more people. Like it wasn't, look, we have a ton of opportunity to make sure we understand how our electrical grid works, our water grid. We're going to have a lot of lessons learned from it. But the immediate lesson learned from the snowstorm and what we saw a couple weeks ago was that the mistakes and ineptitude of City Hall can affect us right down the line. It affects every citizen in our community who didn't have lights or electricity, who didn't have water, who were freezing with their children. And all of us, that's happening. We were out without water and electricity 3.5, 4 days. All of us were on an equal playing field, burning wood or doing what we could to survive, putting water in our toilet tanks to survive. So all that's happening due to an ineptitude and a lack of preparedness at City Hall. So bad leadership, right? Bad leadership when you have to improvise as a leader on your own. It was evident during the pandemic, yes, but it was more so when you see it in a crisis situation, the snowstorm. And it's a fascinating thing to think about. When the city council had to go off script, right, without the answers from the federal government or the state government, when local leaders had to react in the moment, on the spot, it forced them to exercise leadership tactics and techniques, and they failed miserably. They failed across the board. And you can't say, well, hey, Greg, come on, man, there's no way. We didn't know this. Ron Nirenberg's, one of his best lines that I thought was absolutely ridiculous was he said, nobody told us it was going to be anything more than slick streets, icy streets. That's all we had to worry about. Ron Nirenberg, on the day before Valentine's Day, that evening, temperatures were dropping sub-freezing. The next day, within 12 hours, our electrical grid was going to crash. Ron Nirenberg is tweeting Valentine's on February 14th to his wife. Now, I get it. It's Valentine's Day. We want to do that. But love letters and love notes, the day before a massive meltdown of our entire community, is a blind spot. It's tone deaf. And that's not to say you don't have Valentine's Day. It's to say, why did we not recognize when just about every citizen I knew had a few basic key points ready to go? They knew that. We all knew that. About 7 to 10 days in advance that we were going to see 5 to 7 to 9 inches of snow. We knew that. Folks, I've lived my entire life in San Antonio. This much I can tell you. When it snows, this town goes into major lockdown. I don't care if it was a sleet, if it was a wintry mix, right? That's what we call it in San Antonio over the years, Sala. We call it wintry mix or a little slush or sleet. When that happened, right? When that happened, or happens in the city, we go into major shutdown mode. Major shutdown mode. 5 to 7 inches. We were expecting. We knew the temperature was going to be in the teens. So I'm watching and I'm saying, where is the preparedness plan out of City Hall? I only saw one or two council members showing or exhibiting any leadership in the lead up to the snowstorm. Roberto Trevino, now put all politics aside, right? The snowstorm did not know politics, Democrat, Republican, independent, progressive, liberal. It knew none of the above. But what you do know as a citizen is I can see who's actively preparing or having conversations about what's about to hit. Frankly, up front, the only person I saw was Roberto Trevino. That's the one I saw preparing in a homeless environment. He recognized some issues. I saw some posts from Clayton Perry. So, but for the most part, it was just one or two that were prepping and warning. And at that level, if you live in San Antonio, you know this. If it's a little bit of slickness on the roads, do a light drizzle or rain, the roads start to become challenging. This is San Antonio, man. So if it snows, it's on. So the preparedness factor is where we get caught big time, right? We get caught in this preparedness issue where we're trying to tell ourselves what's about to happen here and what's our preparedness level, what's our contingency factor. So the day before, so we got this 7 to 10 day window where nobody can tell us that they weren't aware of a massive storm about to hit. It was pretty obvious that polar vortex, I was going back and Googling, man, not giggling. I was going back and Googling, right? Doing the Googling. And I was looking for terms or words that were, how far back were people warning us that chaos was about to hit? It was about 7 to 9 days, depending. And the word polar vortex, massive freeze, temperatures in the teens are ramping up. So the city's preparedness level at that point became, here's a few tweets and tips on wrap your pipes, be careful on the roads, and that's it, right? So up comes this storm. And when I say you learn about a leader, here's what you learn about a leader. In a leadership moment, the leader, right? Even if you get caught unprepared, let's say you're doing your job, here comes the storm, and you literally get caught unprepared. There is a moment when you have to then exercise your ability, right? To guide folks, to be on the spot, to be in the community, to show what it means, to understand what's happening and breaking down the city, and to put the resources you have at your control to get in there and make it happen, right? That moment was there on Sunday night when we knew the first freeze was going to hit. And folks, we can get, yes, the downtown lights were illuminated. The Rim shopping mall was wide open. I drove through the west side of San Antonio. It was pitch black. Rolling blackouts made absolutely no sense. CPS Energy not standing up their emergency operations center. CPS Energy not having public meetings. CPS Energy not communicating any of these potential blackouts. SAWS not communicating that water's about to be turned off. All these crises are happening. So leadership in that moment becomes, what do I got to do right now, right? What do I have to do right now to make sure there's a base level of communication and there's activity and action from the leadership and the tax dollars to make sure there is a presence in our community? So if you gauge nothing, right, you're going to go back and we're going to unpack this when it comes to CPS Energy and SAWS over the next several months. We've got a committee. We'll talk about that in a second. It's going to research and investigate, figure out what happens. All that's set up. But there are a few basic facts. One is the city was unprepared, wholly unprepared. Not even anywhere near ready to go for a known commodity polar vortex winter storm about to land and hit us on the head on Sunday night, right there staring us right in the face. During the storm, leaders were absent. I saw a handful of community leaders in San Antonio all around town. The handful, and I'll name them, the ones I saw: Roberto Trevino, Liz Campos, Tommy Calvert, Keto Rodriguez, my wife, I give her credit where credit's due, she's out there hustling. All of these people, Mohammed Rasul was out there, right? By the way, these are people I don't see much eye to eye on several political issues, some of these people. We are out there working together to ensure it didn't matter who you were. Didn't matter what streets you lived on. Didn't matter what your belief was on fix SAPD or defunding police. It didn't matter what your opinion was on how bad or good City Hall is. If you're Democrat, Republican, progressive, liberal, conservative, rhino, it didn't matter. None of it mattered. There's a handful of people out there. Rebecca Villagrán was out on the south side. right? So a handful of people are popping up out there working hard. And during this crisis moment is when you recognize when things are unplanned. This is what you learn about leaders and your family members and your friends and your buddies. You learn what happens and who they are when the chips are down and you've got nowhere to go. You learn more about somebody in the crisis situation when everything is broken down. That's when you learn who people really are. I'll say it. Ron Nirenberg disappeared. When the storm hit, Ron quit. Man, he put that... Salo, man. Salo's the man. I love Salo Rodriguez. He was out there in the storm with me. I put him in the 4x4 Tundra. We were delivering taco. We were at La Tapatía. We were out there. Salo was it. He was out there. He was freezing. I'm not going to lie to you. My buddy from Eagle Pass, my brother from another mother in Eagle Pass was out freezing with us. But you learn about people in a crisis moment where the playbook doesn't answer your questions. So then the leadership moment comes to communication. Let's bring all resources to bear. Let's fight and make sure everybody's taken care of. And let's be present in the moment. Present in the moment is leadership out in the community. Ron Nirenberg quit. And I'll just leave it. I'll just really just not go much further than that. He quit. Didn't show up until the following Saturday. Then he bought tacos. That's what he did. You can't dispute that. He didn't show up. He was at home in his fireplace, chilling out. Somehow or another, he had electricity because he was able to Zoom. I don't know how he did that, but he had electricity and he was bundled up wearing his flannel shirt somehow or another near the fire. Good for Ron. By the way, I did not see CPS Energy's CEO or leadership out there. I did not see Saw's leadership out there. I did not see Saha's leadership out there. We saw nobody. Nobody. So we have a chance to hold all that to account. But the people that do show up, right, you know who they are and you watch them and you see it. And then we come out of the storm and now comes a level of accountability. Like, what are your actions post-storm and how do we ensure this never happens again? I'll give you a great example. We delivered some food. To several Saha locations where people were left, seniors were left with nothing. I'm talking 75-plus-year-old citizens in these housing facilities owned by Saha, managed by Saha. I walked into one. I brought about 100 tacos to one spot because they hadn't eaten in 2 days and they had no water. So I go in there and the lady is crying. I give some tacos to a woman and she is crying over the food. The security guard abandoned them. He left at like 1 a.m. No food. No water, no security, seniors in housing facilities managed and operated with your tax dollars. Saha goes on TV after the storm and says, hey man, I think we did a great job. Pat the back right there, great job. Right? They didn't see a breakdown or failure. They thought they did good. Same thing with our mayor, Ron Nirenberg. Let's be honest, he came out and felt that the response by the city was good. He was proud of the response. This I'll tell you about our response. Not proud. Not proud at all. Things are going to happen in the leadership world where you ain't going to be ready for it. You just don't know what's coming your way. It could be a hurricane. It could be a winter storm. It could be electrical grid collapse. It could be Armageddon. Anything can happen in your community or city. How you respond in the moment is based on your tactics and leadership and what you've learned, what you've grown up, and how you understand our community and city. Saha didn't even show up. Then went on TV and said, hey man, I'm with you. We were there. We did a great job. No, you didn't. Well, we did it behind the scenes. Well, you did it so behind the scenes that the residents in your facilities didn't even know you were doing it. Like, that's awesome stealth work. That's like ninja community support. Like, ninja community support is you don't even see me doing it. That's how good we were. No, Saha. Like last week, total breakdown from Saha. Look, I think, and I'll be honest with you, I put out there that we should be changing leadership right now in multiple city-owned agencies or city partners. We should be calling for people to immediately revamp and revisit who they are as an organization and why in the world are we acting in the manner in which we're doing. You've had these problems for 20 plus years. Nothing's changing. But all these leaders want you to believe they have the answers to the very problems they created. let me fix the problem I just caused. Because I didn't know to do it before, but now I know to do it, even though I completely neglected and broke down. Let me try to, I deserve the chance to fix all these problems I created. That's what we're hearing from leadership. And I'll be frank, man, we have to, we really have to change the systemic breakdowns in these organizations that dominate our lives. We have to. I'm running for mayor. This I can promise you. I am going to bring the change to wherever I can. I'm rolling. If I get elected mayor, I'm rolling into City Hall on a change agenda that's going to get us back to basics, right? That are going to be for the people, right? That we're going to work as hard as we can in the community to build a community that is best about what San Antonio is. I am sick and tired of politicians at City Hall who want us to change us into something we are not. That is because they don't know who we are. They don't know why we believe in the things we do, what we're proud of in San Antonio, what is best about San Antonio. They don't get it. So people who try to change you into something else, right? Dude, it's like you marry someone, you say, hey man, you know what? I'm going to make this person, I'm going to change this person. Yeah, they got some flaws. I get it. Things aren't working great, but I can change them. I can fix this. That's our elected officials at City Hall. Not all of them. It's a handful of them. And maybe I'm putting that just solely on the feet of the mayor, and I will. He wants to change us into something we're not. Just because he does not get who we are. So you have to then take a step back and say, what are we and how do we capitalize on that? CPS Energy and SAWS, we'll just start with CPS Energy. These machines are insular. They don't operate with much transparency. CPS Energy they had a board meeting this past Monday, yesterday. It was an audio board meeting, sound only. Salo, that should be an offense to you as a streamer and podcaster. My 12-year-old son has mastered the art of Zoom. Really? He streams himself. He's got his own podcast. My 12-year-old. CPS Energy has to do an audio recording meeting of their board of trustees. CPS Energy, who's sitting on $1 billion of cash reserves and investments. Wow. Billion. Can't do a Zoom. Can't show up in the public eye. CPS Energy did not stand up their emergency operations center. Failed in the preparedness and the rollout of our rolling blackouts. You can say, well, Greg, nobody can be ready for that. Understood. You can't notify us in the event of a rolling blackout outage or the turn off of a disconnect of our water. There's not a text message you can't hammer out. Ron Nirenberg sure was capable of telling me to stay away from my grandma at Christmas time in a text message. I couldn't get a text message that said, your water's about to turn off, fill your tub. Crisis is coming. Third world countries coming to San Antonio, fill your tub. No, we couldn't do that. So no emergency operations center. Rolling blackout strategy that must be investigated, that requires an investigation. I drove through parts of town that had no business having their lights off, and I had rolled through parts of towns that had no business having their lights on. People and seniors who were on dialysis who needed oxygen. How many lives did we lose due to a poor rolling blackout strategy with zero communications? People on dialysis, I mean, we're going to learn that there are attributable deaths, many, to the ineptitude of City Hall and CPS Energy, right? Because if they're not communicating, and notice I've said communication now 3 or 4 times. If they're not communicating, they're not letting you know what's about to happen, that is an abject failure of leadership. But that's what we get out of City Hall. City Hall doesn't tell us what's about to happen. Now I'm calling it this monolith of, City Hall. It's like all of them. It's not, it's really a select few, because this I'll tell you about City Hall. Ron Nirenberg works on his own with nobody else. Can't dispute that. He has no, watch his daily 13 minutes of fame on his daily COVID TV show. Watch it. It's him and old man Nelson Wolff. That's the two of them. It's just the two of them. They look at each other. One's got a bandana on. Well, maybe not after today, but they look at each other and they're feeding off each other and their fear factor. They come on for 13 minutes and that's it. There's never another council member with the mayor. It's always the mayor. It's always Ron Nirenberg by himself. Never has another soul with him. Judge a leader by his company. The company Ron Nirenberg keeps, nobody. He has nobody with him. Oh, excuse me. He has Julian Castro people with him. He's surrounded by Castro people. That's 100% fact. He's got Julian Castro lackeys and minions surrounding him and owning him right now. So that's who surrounds him. There's no council member with him. No friends on the city council. Ron Nirenberg, 0 friends on the city council, 0 go-to. 0. When you partner with nobody, you get this sad leadership state at City Hall. We saw, just yesterday, Ron comes after Roberto Trevino on the Alamo committee and kicks him off and appoints a termed out council member in Rebecca Villagrán. Picking wars and fights. We are suffering from a pandemic response that has been difficult and challenging. It destroyed our business community and killed American citizens and San Antonians. We're suffering from a snowstorm that has left us hanging with ineptitude at City Hall. Ron Nirenberg fires another city council member on an Alamo committee. That's his leadership moment. That is a breakdown of monumental proportions. We can get to the Alamo, that discussion anytime, but fire somebody in this environment, he should be looking at CPS Energy and SAWS. He should be looking today. I'll be honest with you. Today, I put out a press release. Like I said earlier, the media's blocking and tackling, trying to protect Ron Nirenberg. I'm talking to you, Express News and KSATs and Ken's Fives, all these news stations. You guys are protecting Ron Nirenberg. You're letting him get away with it, acting like he runs a kingdom, right? Like he runs this little fiefdom, and it's his job and his job alone. That's what you're doing. You're doing it. Because you're not demanding accountability from him. If I jaywalked across the street, I'd be on the front page of the paper getting lit up. Oh, Greg Brockhouse will walk two steps outside the crosswalk. He's a heathen. Put him on the front page of the paper. That's how bad and biased our media is. But they're giving Ron Nirenberg a pass right now. But if you look at that whole thing, we should be looking at CPS Energy SAWS. So today I put out a press release calling for the removal of Paula Gold Williams, the CEO of CPS Energy. When you fail that drastically, and you watch your response from that point forward, and in the last 10 days, you've been lacking in transparency. You can't hold a public meeting. You can't figure out Zoom. You can't go face-to-face with the community. You haven't answered our concerns about the bills. People are angry and upset. CPS Energy, this is on you. You talk about, well, it's $1 billion in costs. Maybe we'll take it down. We'll run those costs over 10 years. No, we need to be having costs and conversations, about what got us there in the first place, weatherization, the Green New Deal, the Climate Action and Adaptation Plan, approved in late 2019. What's our mix now going forward of renewable energy sources? Do we shut down Spruce 1 and Spruce 2 in a coal plant? Should we have shut down Dealey a couple years ago? Coal-fired plants, should we have shut them down? What does all that look like? This whole conversation, what happened during the storm, built up over the last 3 to 5 years of our City Hall policy, led to last week. Don't think these things happen in a vacuum, people. These things don't happen out of nowhere. A snowstorm grid collapse isn't something that just happened overnight. That's why it's so disingenuous for the Express News. I saw an article they wrote and they put in there and they said, city leaders were caught unaware and nobody told them. This has been building. This drama and this ineptitude has been building for a while now. People have been raising the flag on CPS Energy and SAWS for a few years. Because apparently, take SAWS for instance, they didn't have the generators to back up water supply when CPS Energy cut their electrical conduits on. When the CPS Energy turned off the switch, SAWS couldn't pump water. Then SAWS comes back and says, well, we didn't invest to buy the generators because it was going to cost $800 million. $800 million. But we miraculously came up with a $3 billion plan for the Vista Ridge pipeline. So we want to pipe in all this water from North Texas, but I'm not protected in my energy grid to ensure that I can pump that water in a catastrophic CPS Energy failure. We don't have the generators to operate. Story today in the paper mentions how, or in the media today, mentions how SAWS knew 5 years ago they had generator breakdown issues. They had generator problems with the consistency of energy to their pumping stations. They didn't have the energy backup. SAWS knew about it over the last 5 years. Their answer, Vista Ridge pipeline, pump in more water. We can sell it. We can do all this other stuff. $3 billion project. Let's go. Didn't think about weatherization or electrical grid backup. That could be in the future a huge discussion point. Could be. I mean, we're going to have to see. And by the way, the mayor stood up a committee. And I don't know about this one, man. I'm gonna look at some questions here too. The mayor stood up a committee. And on that committee is Henry Cisneros. When are we as a city, due respect to Mr. Cisneros, former HUD secretary, former San Antonio mayor, due respect, Henry, when are we going to be able to do something without Henry Cisneros' name attached to it? I mean, at what point are we going to grow up and lead on our own without having to roll out old council members or former mayors to save our skin? Henry Cisneros is on the Storm Investigation Committee. That is a lame appointment that makes no political sense whatsoever. Like I don't even understand it from a politics standpoint. From an investigation standpoint, it makes even less sense. Like, why are we rolling out Henry Cisneros? All the people in our community, and we keep going back to a mayor from 40 years ago. I don't get it. Whatever. There's council members on this board. It's chaired by a former council member, Reed Williams, who went and ran for state rep out of San Antonio. He left the city to go run for state rep somewhere else, then came back to San Antonio. Former District 8 Councilman Reed Williams. We've just got a committee stood up that's whole purpose in life is to hold themselves accountable. They're going to investigate themselves. That's City Hall for you. That's Ron Nirenberg's game plan. Let me stand up the select committee. Folks, the committee idea was actually Anna Sandoval's idea. She mentioned it the week before. Wasn't Ron Nirenberg's idea. It was Anna Sandoval's idea. She called for the stand-up of an investigative committee to break in and break down what happened. And then we stand up a committee made of cronies and insiders to investigate themselves. And the mayor, by the way, who sits on the boards of CPS Energy and SAWS. The mayor sits on the board of both utilities following abject, total catastrophe and failure of leadership and execution. The mayor's on those boards. But you wouldn't think it based on him blaming ERCOT. It's ERCOT's fault. ERCOT's the boogeyman right now. Who, by the way, leadership at ERCOT and the PUC, the Public Utilities Commission, they've all resigned. They've stepped down and said, adios, I got to move on. Time for a change in focus and function. So, all of this builds up, right? And now we're staring at how do we tear this apart and hold people accountable? It's a huge discussion. Conflict of interests from Michelle Gonzalez. Patty Guido, I'm so over Henry Cisneros. We got a lot of people over Henry. We want the Texas Hammer for the head of the committee. The Texas Hammer, I'm assuming, is Steve Adler, right? Steve Adler. There's nothing can do about it unless hospital bed capacity. The Bill Clinton of San Antonio. Let's see what else we got in here. What else we got? Senior care facilities were having issues. Absolutely right. So, Greg, when you are mayor, will you give daily COVID briefings? Anne Marie, why would you ask such a question? If I'm elected mayor and I'm blessed to be the mayor on May 2nd, or whatever day it is, I'll immediately cease the daily COVID briefings. It's ridiculous. There are so many methods for us to get information, data, and stats out. It doesn't need to be me parroting the numbers. The daily TV show is nothing more than a political 15 minutes for Ron Nirenberg. Jake Kasiba, who's himself running for the Northside Independent School Board. Ron Nirenberg has failed our city. Anne-Marie says he agrees. Don Bamondi right there. Let's get some comments. Edith, Salo's wife with the Get Him Greg. I like that. Go get him. I love it. I love it. I love it. Carrie Hall. Let's see here. What are we doing? We need to share. Stephen Ayala, there's only 160 viewers right now. Sure. If we are going to support, actually, for a podcast, 160 viewers is not bad. not bad. We'll take that one. What else we got? Anything other questions out there? Betty Eckert, longtime senior advocate and supporter, obviously making comments about our seniors, right? No electric, no food, no water, no communication. Absolutely. Betty, you're on point. And then Anthony Rodriguez, this man is spitting on fire. The broadcast has its own page, Patty Guido. So, look.
What about signs? Somebody asked
Oh, signs. Yeah, we're going to we have signs so our office at 5590 Summit Parkway. If you want a sign, you want to come out and visit with us, give us a holler. We're actually going to be up this Saturday on a volunteer event. We have to put the graphic up. Sal, don't let me forget that we got to put the graphic up. This Saturday, we're going to have an event here at 10 o'clock.
Oh, here in the morning.
Yeah, we need to create the Facebook event.
Oh, yeah, okay.
Yeah, we're going to do that after the podcast. We're going to do it
tomorrow.
Yeah. Oh, we do have another event tomorrow too. So just a little housekeeping here. March 3rd, tomorrow at Aldino's at the Vineyard. From 4 to 7, we're having an event put on by 4 women who I'm just thrilled that they are supporting our campaign. I'm very thankful for it. 4 to 7 tomorrow at the Vineyard. It is started as a Women for Greg event. And it's just basically become a giant fundraising event. So it's all on. Anybody can show up. March 3rd, 4 to 7 tomorrow. Dino's at the Vineyard. Just come out and have a great time. We're gonna have some food and some time, and we'll talk about the future of San Antonio and our plans. My wife will be there. She's one of the sponsors of the event. We're very thankful. So let me hop in real quick into a campaign update. So here's where we're at. Today's March 2nd. Voting starts April 19th. Election day is May 1st. We're trying our best, and leave that graphic up down there at the bottom, Sal. That's good. We're trying our best, to continue to get our word and messaging out. Fundraising matters, our ability to get resources and dollars in so we can then turn around and get out this message about what we're trying to accomplish at San Antonio. I would tell you that before the campaign started, we were analyzing data and information, trying to figure out what our path to victory was. And we felt like there was a clear path for us to have a conversation about the future of San Antonio because we believed Ron Nirenberg is an inch deep, mile wide kind of guy. Like he sprinkles a little bit of everything, and he's a little bit of everything to everyone. And that's a recipe for disaster in leadership. So we felt like in the moment, right before we announced that we can get in this campaign and make a call to get back to the basics of San Antonio, understand who we are as a community, capitalize on that, talk about jobs, talk about public safety, talk about our families, and then clean up City Hall. We felt that was it. Be the jobs mayor, create jobs, opportunity, and wealth. Don't defund the police department, right? Stand up for our police officers and firefighters. Focus on families and help families buy homes, take care of their children, single parents. Work hard to make sure we're building those basic social building blocks of our families. We have to get into that in our faith. And then we turn around and clean up City Hall, and it's the catastrophe it's become. Those were our 4 points. Then the snowstorm hit, and now we feel confident that the path is even greater because what we saw was a breakdown of leadership. Leaders get exposed in crisis moments. They get exposed. Ron Nirenberg got exposed. He disappeared. When the storm hit, Ron quit. 100%. There's no fighting that. There's no disputing that. Our mayor and most of the city council was absent during the storm. Not to be found. And they could say, well, I didn't put myself on Twitter and I didn't run around. It's on you as an elected official to let the people know you're working. It's not on the people to go verify you and find you and ensure you're doing your job at City Hall. It's on you to tell the story, to put the information out so people know you're active and engaged and leading our city. It's on you, the leader, to get to the people. And that's what's broke at City Hall. We've made City Hall to where it's about the people trying to get to us. The people doing all the work. The people suffering. The people trying to hold City Hall accountable. The people doing all the work. City Hall sitting down there high and mighty on their own. So during the storm, we saw that. Full caveat, again, once more, there was only 1 or 2 people, 3 tops we saw out there working from the city council. And I'll say it all day long, continue to say it. Actually, Manny Pelias, he was out delivering, from what I saw, a ton of wood. I saw him on his Facebook page. He was in his truck delivering a ton of firewood all across District 8. Roberto Trevino, every day in the homeless situation, digging in. You can disagree with him on how he handles a homeless situation or how he leads his district. That dude was out there every day. Every day. I saw Rebecca Villagran out there as well. Liz Campos, Tommy Calvert, Keto Rodriguez. All these faces are out there working. So it's not everybody, right? But the majority of City Hall bailed on us, led by a mayor who quit on the job, didn't show up. Now we're coming into the campaign. Now we see that as a conversation. So what you'll see out of the campaign for the next couple weeks, we're about to roll out another set of policy initiatives and ideas. We've stood up and said we need to resign the city, the CPS Energy CEO needs to resign. We need a systemic change at CPS Energy because it's time to change that and hold that entity accountable. Saha needs to be cleaned up. Folks, these organizations, 40 plus years of broken leadership. Seniors struggling. They don't eat. I was at a senior facility downtown, and the seniors were going to the river with buckets to pull San Antonio River water out so they could use their toilet. I saw it. I'm helping them. Buckets in the San Antonio River. Our seniors, on the backs our city was built, on those backs, built our city, raised our children, raised us. Those seniors were dipping buckets into the San Antonio River to fill their toilets. That's Ron Nirenberg's city. I saw that 1/8 of a mile from City Hall. I saw that 500 yards from CPS Energy's office space. Broke? Yes. Fixable? Yes. Accountability? We have to bring it. So be prepared. That's what we're fighting for. So we're going to roll out more policy initiatives. We're trying to get Ron Nirenberg to debate us. There's a couple of funny pictures. So Ron Nirenberg won't stand toe to toe with me to debate these issues. Now, number one, I don't blame him. He's really an atrocious debater because he doesn't know the facts and he doesn't understand San Antonio. He has no passion for the city. So if I was him, his safe plan right now is to stay away from accountability. If Ron has to answer for accountability and he has to answer for some of these breakdowns and it's not written in his binder right in front of him, he's going to get exposed. So his game plan right now is to think he's King Louis. It's his seat. He owns it. He shouldn't have to defend it. He shouldn't have to defend his actions. Ron Nirenberg's game plan is to say, I'm the mayor, it's mine. Everybody else, shut up. Everybody else, nobody's credible. Only person that matters is me, Ron Nirenberg. That's it. Ron the con. That's what that is. Ron the con. He's conning you. He's playing a game. Ron the con says, nobody else matters but me. Ron the con says, I show up and do this job and everybody else part the seas, right? Everybody else, let's part the seas for me. Here comes Ron the con. Ron the con says, Greg and all these other people, they don't know what they're talking about. They have no idea. Ron the con says, go right on, right? Has no friends at City Hall, has no relationships, lies to the restaurant community, lies to the bar community, lies and deceives. Why? To hold on to power. So we're trying to force some of these issues and debates. We're trying to make him be accountable. What about what? Ron, debate Greg. He won't do it. He's going to do all he can. So we have to apply the pressure to him to be accountable to the people. Like look, 2019, you beat me by 1,300 votes. Good for you. I respect that. I lost. I congratulated you, Ron. 1,327 people go the other way, you would have lost. I doubt you would have been as gracious in defeat as me because in winning, you are showing no grace. You and I, or Ron, are going to tangle a little bit further and we're going to run a good campaign and we're going to be there right at the end. We think we're going to beat Ron Nirenberg on May 1st. Of course we do. We wouldn't have gotten in if we didn't think we could have, folks. I need your support and help to get me there, though. I need your contributions. I need your time. I need your energy. I need your ideas. I need all of it so that we can make an argument that San Antonio's on the wrong track. Ron needs to stand up and defend his record. And it's basically saying this is the vision. This is the argument that I want to make for you and for us. There's two visions for the future of San Antonio. Ron's is completely obvious. It's not about San Antonio, right? He wants to change us into something we're not. My vision is a completely different goal, mindset, built on years of living in this community, knowing who we are and how good we can be when we capitalize on who we are and what we do best, not run from this fear factor and try to turn us into something we're not. Ron and I offer two competing and distinct different visions of San Antonio. that deserve to be debated. And we are in a credible moment in time when this city is now challenged. Got a police contract. There's activist communities that want to remove the police contract. Do you support your police officers? That's a huge issue. Where's Ron Nirenberg on that one? Now we got the snowstorm. Where are we on job creation? Where are we on a COVID response, and how do we come out of this from a pandemic recovery plan? Where are we on workforce development? Where are we on housing? All of these things. Where are we on the Green New Deal, the climate action plan? I've just named 7 key points that we're not going to have any meaningful dialogue on, because Ron believes the job is his and his alone. The guy's Prince Charles, man. He thinks he's got it made. He thinks it's all him, and it's just him waiting to be coronated on May 1st. That's not how the system works. So we're pushing for that. We're trying to get after that, and we'll go there. So we're out block walking. We're going to be out knocking doors. We're going to be sending information out, making calls, volunteers. This Saturday, 10 a.m., we're going to put an event up for it. You can join us and just be a part of what we're trying to accomplish and do. We got big plans. It's going to take big energy and time, and we win races like that. So people who are in the insurgency, right, who are the challengers, they can't win it through the media or the financial resources. The business community and the donor class, for lack of a better word, are usually scared, and they always support the incumbent. That's just how it is, because they're afraid. They're afraid of change and not being able to control people. They'd rather control the people they know. Ron and certain members of the council, they'd rather control the known commodity. But we're bringing a level of insurgency and change to the whole machine. Just be ready for it. And that's going to freak people out. We have to win it by making sure enough people know we love our city. We're going to pour our heart and soul into it. We're going to bring it back to a faith-based, loving, go-get-em, aggressive community. And we got to put ideas around that. We got to talk about one of the things that I want to make an argument about the next couple of months is that we have to get better respecting each other's differences, and let's go to work. Like, let's go to do the hard work of trying to find some common ground, and then let's get things done. We're not a city that gets things done anymore, right? We're not. I want you to think about this. Are you better off than you were 4 years ago with Ron Nirenberg? Fair question. Second point is, do you recognize your city? Is this the city you know? Or is there a little feeling like something's not right about who we are? Something has changed. Think about that. So a couple of big issues that did pop up, right? And we want to talk real quick about, and then we're about near wrap-up phase. We just want to talk real quick. I'm anxious to see. So I'm gauging this mask up situation right now, right? So today the governor came out, and this we have to watch and monitor. I've been keeping an eye on all the little, to mask or not to mask. I've been keeping an eye on all the commentary about masking. Greg Abbott issued today his notification that on next Wednesday, 100% opening of all businesses in Texas and the removal of masks. There'll be no mask mandate, and there'll be all businesses open. 100%, baby. Texas is back in the game. Now, I'm monitoring the comments because I don't want to jump onto it too fast until I see what people are thinking, read the comments. I'm seeing a 50-50 split.
Very noticeable.
It's very noticeable. And you can sometimes tell by the little angry faces, the thumbs up, the burning mad faces, right? The tears, whatever. I am noticing, just from what I've seen, a pretty well split down the middle. And in most news stations I look at, I'll tell you the angry faces outnumber the thumbs up. So it's hard to say. We got to let it settle for a little bit. Salo, are you going to wear your mask? Keep wearing it?
If they ask me to, yes.
Okay, Salo says, hey, man, I might put the mask on because
I'm
people...
more about being considerate than trying to argue if masks work or not.
So Salo makes a good point. Being considerate of your fellow neighbor is more important to Salo than his inconvenience of...
Then arguing if the masks work or not.
Then arguing if the mask works or not. So Salo says, yeah, hey, man, look, I don't need to rub it in someone else, or I don't need to scare them, or if they're worried about it, you'll just respect your fellow citizen and put the mask on. I'm with you on that. I see that we need to open up the city. I think we need to open up the state. We need to get back to work. And it's because, look, we have to be very careful too. So we're in a massive vaccination increase time period. It's a delicate balance. You're in a vaccination increase time period. The governor said today that 250,000 plus people received a vaccine today with first dose vaccine. They expect it to be 100,000 plus a day easily. The president has said we'll see a vaccine for everybody by the end of May. So we do notice there are other strains popping up, but it is appearance as though that the vaccine, takes care of that as well. So what we need to watch, right, and keep a straight eye on is we need to open up our businesses and get back to work. There's this balance, though, between when you mask and unmask. The governor said it's next week, so it's beyond debate at this point. But I do worry about, we have to be careful about how people feel about it in our city, because I'm telling you right now, you're going to be going out there and half the people you talk to are going to want to mask up and the other half aren't. The governor's made the deciding call. He has, and there's no masks. So the challenge of next week and here going forward is respecting our fellow citizens who want to mask up and who want to be prepared, and our businesses who continue to be respectful of mask mandates in their own institution and business and their property rights, right? I would ask, and I would tell people in the city, anybody I talk to, be respectful of the business owner. If they're going to continue to ask for masks, just do it. Just do it. If you want to eat at Acadiana or Papado and they're asking you to wear the mask, if your school district says the kids need to keep the mask on when they go to school, just be respectful. Let's get it done and continue going on. We should have been open 100% a long time ago with masks. It was always a false choice to me. That we were dealt so many false choices. I don't get it. Like, we could have been open 100% and kept our masks on. We could have done both and kept working, earning. It became, for me, over the several months, not even a hassle to wear the mask. The only thing it became a hassle on was when I forgot it, right? Sometimes I walked into Lowe's one time, shopped all around the whole thing, didn't even have a mask on until the manager goes, and I didn't realize they'd been there for 30 minutes already without a mask. To me, it became not an issue. It became just kind of like a public service issue. Hey, I got to do what I got to do. It's not that big a deal. For me, that's all I can say. It didn't become a personal rights issue, or nobody can tell me what to do but God. It didn't come to that for me. And I'm a person of faith. I have conservative values when I want to protect our businesses. I want to do what I can so that you can keep as much money as you want. I believe in personal property rights. I love Texas. I love San Antonio. I mean, I've got all this stuff. The mask to me wasn't that important of a line crossed. So what I would say is respect people who still want to wear the mask. Respect businesses who want to do it. And who say, if you're going to come into my establishment, don't get into fights. If you walk into Luby's, if they're still open, if you walk into Luby's and they ask you to put the mask on, don't get upset. Don't destroy the manager and rip them apart because it's a company policy. Don't rip apart an H-E-B checker because they ask you to put your mask on when you walk in. Don't rip apart a police officer in a mask. Don't go wild on citizens and neighbors because they're going to choose the right path for them. If you want the respect to not wear your mask, you have to return the respect and the right. So I always thought this: if you believe it's a personal rights issue, and I agree with you, it is, now it is, 100%, you also got to allow the person who wants to wear their mask the same right, and the business owner who wants to mandate it for their organization, their shop. Let's be respectful. The last thing I want to do is see people, business owners, having to now get in the middle and regulate mask fights for the government. There's going to be plenty of businesses who want to stay masked up. There's nothing wrong with that. We are 100% open next Wednesday. 100%. This is the challenge of who we are as a community, of who we are as a people, as a human being will come when the masks are not mandatory. That's next Wednesday. It will challenge us to be kind.
Wow, what a concept.
Don't need to slap a card or a mask out of someone's hand like some dude did to Nelson Wolff. I disagree with Nelson Wolff all day long. Whatever. I don't need to slap crap out of his hand or teach him a lesson about my rights. My biggest concern is how we treat each other with some level of respect in the mask, no mask environment at your businesses and out in the community walking around. We need to hear from our leaders that it's okay to continue masking up and it's okay to show respect. And it is okay if you choose not to wear the mask. I may not like it. The governor's made it loud and clear, but I'm happy businesses are open 100%. If you'd have told me 6 months ago, I need you to wear the mask, Greg, everywhere you go, and I'm opening up the city 100%, I'd have done that all day long. I jumped all over that. I'd wear that mask anywhere, anytime to keep San Antonio open for business, to save small business, to save jobs, to save money, to save food, to save income, to pay your rent. I'd have worn that mask to bed if you'd have told me San Antonio could be 100% open for business. It was never a one or the other. It was a false choice. It became ridiculous. It became a tool to control instead of a tool to reopen. The mask to me was always a path to get back to work. So if you choose not to wear it, don't wear it. That's going to be your choice next Wednesday. It's also your choice to be a kind human being to those who are still scared to death and worried about their health, who haven't gotten a shot. Folks, I have not had a shot. I haven't. No, I don't have a shot. And my family, no. So people are going to be concerned. People are going to show worry. People may not want to talk to you without a mask. Understand that that's not your life to live, and it's not your life to give. It's your chance to say, all right, man, I'll wear the mask. Right? It's not the end of the world. I'm here. You're my neighbor. Boy, have we lost neighborly concern and love in San Antonio over the last 4 years. Remember when I asked you, are you better off than you were 4 years ago? One of the things we've lost is neighborly. Neighbor. Remember that word neighbor? Citizen, friend, my neighborhood, my community, the person across the street. Most of us don't even know who's living right across the street from us anymore. We've lost that neighbor mentality. We can call it freedom. We can call it personal rights. 100%. The governor made the call, folks. But the call from our leadership for what's right and best about San Antonio is let's respect businesses who want to keep going. Let's respect each other. Let's make sure the masks are open and we're taking care of the things that matter most. And if your kid has to wear it to school, don't crap on the teachers or the superintendent for it. Just sit there and think, look, not everybody's where I'm at, but we were all one place together, and that's San Antonio. That's San Antonio, man. We all got to step up when we're allowed to do this different work next Wednesday, when we're allowed to no longer wear the mask. It's going to show so much about us as a city. It's going to show us who we are and how we respect each other's beliefs in property rights, personal rights, business rights, and leadership, how we respond to it together. There's no right answer going into next Wednesday, depending on which side you're on. The other side's completely wrong. It is not that black and white. But what is, and I'm thrilled about, is that businesses are back open to 100%. And I will wear that mask if they're asking for me to do it in that business. I'll do it. Because I'm glad they're going to be able to hire back and make money again and put people's food on people's tables and kids and money and clothes. And man, we need to get back to life. And if it means I got to wear a mask at SeaWorld, let's go, man. If I got to wear a mask to church, I'll keep doing it. If I got to wear a mask to hang out at Acadiana, I'm all for it. But it's time we got back to living. The mask is our key to the life. The mask is our key to living. So for me, that's my plan. Be respectful of my neighbor and stick to the facts and take care of San Antonio. I'm going to ask you to do the same and not whatever you do, don't treat somebody who doesn't believe what you do like crap. And don't treat employees and people who are just trying to survive and get back to work like crap because they tell you one way or the other on the mask.
And they're following orders too.
And they're following orders. Great point, Salo. They're following orders. Don't treat people like garbage.
Some are following orders even if they don't believe that masks are efficient. You know what I mean? Some workers, they're just following orders.
People are following orders. I'm going to keep wearing my mask. Now, that may piss you off. And if you say, I'm not going to vote for Greg Brockhouse, well, God, he's got to keep... That's my choice, man. Welcome to America. You want freedom? Freedom's a multiple-way street, man. We all get freedom. I'm going to keep wearing my mask because it's right. And I know people who are scared to death. And I think we need to continue to do it for each other. But we need to be the heck wide open. Business, let's go. Let's get back to work and let's save our city. And let's put money in our pocketbooks and let's go to town. So that's my last thought on the masks. Man, look, we've been having a great time. We got a long ways to go into campaigns, about 60 days. Win or lose, I'm coming at it with like this. 2019 was a tough and difficult race. I'm coming at it with like a total open heart. I'll talk about anything. I'll say anything that comes from my heart. I don't want to hold back. I don't want to left anything unsaid like I did in 2019. You deserve the answers from me on who I am and what I think is right. You deserve the answers on my family. You deserve the answers on me and my wife and what kind of leaders we're going to be. The quality of our marriage, our children, all that. As a leader, it's all in. Everything gets evaluated. I get that. And I'm here to tell you, I want to be your mayor. I want to lead us and pour my heart into a daily battle to fix our city, man. Every step of the way, every neighborhood, every district, every street, from Hackberry to 151 to Porter to Mission Road, where my family grew up, to Starcrest, to I-10, to Hebner, to Perrin Bidle, you name it. Go all over the city, downtown, to Commerce, to the west side, to Zarzamora. We have to pour our heart and soul into who we are to get us back to what we need to be. That's the argument I'm going to make. If it works, it works. If it doesn't, it doesn't. And I'm going to need you every step of the way. I'm thankful you continue to follow us. Hopefully this will keep growing over the next few weeks. Elections May 1st, it'll be what it'll be. If it's my belief, if it's God's path for me to go there, I'm going to get there. And that's why I have a free heart about it. I'm not going to lie to you. I'm thankful that God's got me this far in my life. People say, why do you come in it? Why are you still doing it? They have questions about me as a person, and my ideas, my character, all of it. I'm here today because God has put me in the spot to be here. That's it. I'm here because of His grace and His grace alone, and a wife that will not quit supporting me. I love the fact she doesn't give up on me. So that's why I'm here. We're ready to rock and roll. Next Tuesday, March 9th, we're going to be live at the Sons of Liberty Gunworks. That's going to be a ton of fun. We're going to... I won't be so heartfelt. Standing around a bunch of high-powered weapons at Sons of Liberty Gunworks. So we're doing an event over there. We're going to barbecue, have some food, and we're going to talk about San Antonio from multiple points of view. And we're going to take this on the road a few times, go to different places, and make it happen. So be prepared. I love our city. And I think Ron Nirenberg does too. And you're going to laugh at me, but I do pray for the success of our elected officials. To pray for their failure is to pray for us to lose. I think I can do the job better. That doesn't mean that I shouldn't hope for the best for our city. So I'll close with saying we got to pray for each other. As we unmask and get back to work, let's pray for safety and security. But prayers, God also, my belief, expects us to do our part, and our part is respect, courtesy, taking care of our neighbors, and praying for each other and each other's success. Sure, I want to be mayor, and I'm asking to fire Ron Nirenberg, but at the end of the day, this is San Antonio. We've all got it. We're knocking on the door of success. We're going to open up next week. Let's go to work. Let's get to work. Let's campaign. Let's get those votes. Let's support people, take care of each other. Next Tuesday, we'll be back. Sons of Liberty Gunworks, 9 o'clock. We're following that up with our podcast, and we're going to have some great conversations. You want to come on the show, give us a holler. You want to join us there, give us a holler. This Wednesday, 4 o'clock p.m. at Aldino's, we have a Women's for Greg event that has turned into I think, just a massive party. March 3rd, 4 to 7 there at the Vineyards, the Women for Greg event. We're trying to get debates scheduled and set with Ron Nirenberg. It's rock and roll time, people. I love you. I appreciate you. Let's go take the change to City Hall. Again, the broadcast every Tuesday, 7 o'clock through the campaign. Election Day is March 1st. We love you. We are officially wrapping this bad boy up. 8/22. We are out.